What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a new model in from Vosteed to check out with y'all. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, we have the Vosteed Ankita in today, and this is a really cool option because a lot of folks out there were saying that the Ankilo was a little too big for them. And if that was you, here's your answer. The Ankita S35EN clip point blade, you have a much smaller handle and a little bit of a thinner geometry overall on this particular one. So I think this is really going to please a lot of folks that wished that the Ankilo was a little bit smaller, a little bit more discreet. You got nice titanium scales on top of steel liners. You do have their V anchor lock system here that I think works very well. Very snappy locking system. Hides the button in the pivot, and it is a very crispy detent. I did take this down to the garage to do a little bit of cutting with it, and the S35EN on here has a nice edge from the factory. Very thin cutting geometry. It absolutely moved through the cardboard with zero issues whatsoever. And then it is a clip point. It can do a little bit of trace cutting, but I don't think that's really what this was intended for whatsoever. The S35EN seemed to hold an edge really well, and I think that's pretty much true from anything that I've seen from Vosteed when it comes to the S35EN. Ergonomically, very comfortable. To me, I was kind of using the landing pad more so than that fort choil, and you may have noticed a little bit of getting hung up while cutting with it. It is a smaller knife, so it does have a lot less blade, big belly, and it is slicey, but it has a lot less cutting geometry or cutting edge on it, I should say. So I did fall into that once or twice just because of how I found it was very comfortable for me to hold it, choked back a little bit. Now, I do think that they have refined the V-anchor lock a little bit here. It feels a little bit more flawless, or this has been in the past around a little bit longer, perhaps, and maybe a little bit better broken in. I do feel like my V anchor was a little bit stiffer, and I feel like it didn't feel as drop shutty. Uh, it has been a little while though, so I could be remembering wrong, but I feel like this is just tuned a little bit better, tuned a little bit crispier, and I feel like the operating, open and closing of it is just a little bit better. A nice design, good aesthetics. I really do like that. I love that. I see Vosteed. I see you guys getting that pocket clip back up off of here. My Ankilo pocket clip was like somewhere down here. It was ridiculous where that pocket clip was located, but much better location here. Hopefully they come out with a version 2 of the Ankilo where you just pull that pocket clip right up on here like you did the Ankita. Anyway, let's do some size comparisons on this one. All right, here is the Ankita compared to the CMB Made Knives Predator and the Artisan Cutlery Home. And as you can see, this is a nice compact knife. This kind of gives me like Para 3 vibes. I think the Para 3 lightweight, Para 3 might be slightly longer overall than this, but it really does kind of give me those vibes. Para 3 doesn't have as much blade, has more handles, really about the ergonomic, and then compact carry being like the second most important thing on that particular knife. So I do like that about this one. All right, here it is against the Momos, and as you can see, it is smaller than both. So this is definitely a very compact, small carry size knife. I think a lot of people are going to really like that. Some people that were going to wish for it to be larger might not enjoy that as much, but I would steer you towards the Ankilo anyway. I think that's probably going to be more up your alley than the Ankita is. Let me grab the scale and check the weight on this one. All right, got the scale out and on, and I'm kind of debating weight on this one. I'm thinking 3.5, like right out the gate. The smaller size I think helps with the weight, but it does have full steel liners, and it is titanium scales on top of that. And I think the V-anchor lock, being that it is a strength-built lock or a strong lock, I think it does weigh a little bit more, so it could be a little bit higher than 3.5. Ugh, 4.1. It definitely doesn't feel 4.1-ish in the hand. And maybe that's because of its size. Maybe because so much of it is in the hand as far as where the weight is. The blade doesn't really feel like anything extra. I was really surprised by that 4.1. Those V-anchor locks are coming in a little bit heavier. Maybe they could cartridge it and lose some of the steel back here and just do milled titanium. I don't know if that is really an option though, because the way that the lock works, it has a relief cut internally here. It has a lock bar that kind of goes in and out when you push the button. Kind of goes, I didn't mean for the blade to drop, but it kind of moves the lock mechanism in and out, sort of like a liner lock does. So I don't know if they can do that. Maybe they could just just have a bearing, a washer and a bearing over here and lose the steel on this side. I don't know that you need that on the opposite side. I don't know how the lock works internally, but that's just kind of my thinking on ways that you could reduce that weight. All right, guys, time for my final thoughts and impressions on the Ankita. I grade on a scale of 1 to 10. What goes into that score is fit, finish, cutting performance, ergos, and aesthetics. Those are all things that I take into consideration. You're getting S35 yen. You're getting their pivot lock system, which I think is innovative. Titanium scales with steel hardware. I do like the fact that they fixed that pocket clip. Now, what is holding it back a little bit for me? A little small, not as much of a cutting edge. For me, I'd like to have those things, and those are factors for me personally on a knife that I want to EDC. Ergonomically, it's very comfortable. I like the little touch here they did with the starburst or the sunburst, whichever you want to call it. If I were to use their choil here, I would hang off the back tremendously. Using the landing pad is the most comfortable spot. If I wanted to use that Ford choil, I'd only be able to go up to the first knuckle. The cutting edge and geometry on here are really good. I like to see them lay their edges back a little bit. This feels like 22 or 24. Feels a little bit thick. It feels like this could be like 22 to 20, even 19 if you could squeeze that out of there. And I think this would be even more of a laser beam. You wouldn't necessarily have to go for sheer cutting geometry. You could get, this to feel like an absolute laser beam. Having said all of that, really not that bad. I'm going 7.2 on this one. I like it. I think it's a solid knife. Let me know what you think about this one down in the comments below. I am an affiliate with Vosteed, so they will be linked in the description. When you use the links in the description, it does help the channel, and that is totally up to you. If you enjoyed today's video, a like would be appreciated. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Love to have you follow along. Special shout out and thanks to my channel members. Love you guys. I'm out of here. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.